Hello there, my name is Prasanjit. In this video, we will use Duet AI assistants to help us code a live cricket score API in Python. So let's get started. So first of all, we set up a cloud workstation. I'll use that ID on the cloud workstation to do it. And I open up a folder there, and we'll write our code within that folder and use Duet AI. I have already enabled Duet AI on this ID that comes along with Cloud Workstation, and here we have a repository that provides us a Python library to scrape data from CrigBuzz, and we'll use that to set up our API where we'll get the live cricket scores. So here we are back in our IDE, and what we'll do now is to open the terminal, and we'll create a folder within which our code will reside, and then we'll create a file or rather clone this repository and create our files within that. So here we are, git clone, and here we got the cricket API code over here. Now we'll have Duet AI help us containerize and deploy this. So this is the code, and within the API directory we have the relevant code that is needed to set this API up. Now let's have a look at the files within. So here is our API folder, and we go to the requirements.txt, which has the dependencies, and this is the main file, the index.py, which has the code. So this has all the dependencies as I mentioned, and this has the code that will help us set up this API for live cricket scores. And as you can see, this has all the different functions that are needed, and it will scrape data from CrigBuzz to generate. So we use explain this from Duet AI to explain what this piece of code does in case you are unaware. Then here you can see the complete description about what is the purpose of this script and what are the various app routes being used, like /score will provide you the live score, and how to use them, and what are the various libraries within it, like Beautiful Soup being used there. And if we write another prompt, like we want to create a cricket score API out of it, now how do we set it up, and how do we containerize it and run it on Docker? So it gives us a complete description of what steps to follow. So let's go ahead and do just that. So first of all, we create a Docker file, and then we'll copy the code which Duet AI suggested into the Docker file to build the Docker image for this API. So we head back to our Duet AI chat and add the Docker file code. So as you can see, it uses the Python Slim image, and I would like to add a certain command here, and Duet being my companion will just assist me. So I just want to add apt-get update, and I will also go ahead and add apt-get install build essentials. So what that does is, when we try to build Python, then all the GCC libraries are accessible to it. So I add the build essentials so that we don't see much failures later, and then I'll do rm-rf of the app lists so that it remains clean. So this is one addition I always do with Python Flask files. And here we have the requirements.txt, which is already there, and here you can see Duet AI had an annotation like these codes might have certain origins which might be written by some other person or might be subject to copyright. So here we have the requirements.txt already in place, but we'll need to copy the requirements.txt into the Docker file so that it's accessible. So I add a command line to do just that, and the rest of the lines look good to me. I'll only want to change how the command executes. I would like to add some debugging criteria there so that I can see it, and also expose it on a non-standard port like 5001. Normally it would be exposed in 5000, so I'll put it across here. And for the entry point, I'll put Python 3 there so that Python 3 executes this code. So let's type in Python 3, and then finally we use the CMD where we run the command along with the debug options. And I would also like to expose it on multiple IPs, so I can do that on index.py. So I just write index.py over here. That is the file that is to be executed, and I'll go on to the index.py and add the rest of the stuff. So we go to the index.py here, and towards the end we have the code where it talks about the execution on the web server and the port on which it will listen. So in the app run function is where we'll add the options that I want to add. So let's ask Duet AI how to do that. So how to have app.run work on 0.0.0.0, and I want to have port 5001 exposed, and I want to have debug options enabled while I'm developing this. So let's see what the response is. So here we have the app host code block, so we can replace this with the one which Duet suggested. So this is how it will be exposed on 0000 on 5001, and debug option will be enabled. So that's it. I think we are good. Now we can go ahead and check how to deploy that. So here we have the docker build command which we had asked earlier. We use that to build a Docker image, and you can see the Docker image is getting built. Oh, we got some error here. So alright, it has to be something with the Docker file. So let's go back. Failed to solve process, this one. So let's go back to the Docker file and have a look. So while it was trying to install build essential, okay, I missed the spelling here, where. So I think we are good now. So let's rebuild it with the same command. We have the error again. So now it says fail to solve, apt-get update, build essentials. It's the same line. Let's get back to the Docker file and check. What is missing? All right, so we have missed out the ampersand. So we put the double ampersand there because we are executing multi-line commands. Okay, so our Docker image is rebuilding. I think it should work fine this time. So here we have our image built perfectly fine, and then we can start to spin up this image as a Docker container. So I'll just go ahead and do a Docker run, expose 5001 port, map it to the internal 5001 port on which the Docker container is listening, and then invoke it. So here you can see the Flask app has started on a debug mode, and if we open preview as is available with the cloud workstation, we have the Python API safely deployed and successfully running over there. So now let's check out the score if there is a running match. So I've checked with quickbuzz.com and got a match ID from the website. So we can try that ID and rebuild our URL to test our API. So here we are, 86847, and as you can see, here is the response, but we can see not all of these are filled. So we'll refresh a couple of times, and here we have a valid response now. Okay, so as you can see, all the fields are populated with the current cricket match details that are going on. So this is how we containerize API by getting code from GitHub. You can use Duet AI assistants to do this for any of such use cases, and it is very useful for full stack developers who might not have complete knowledge on dealing with Docker containers, or it will also save you time when writing code to build containers and deploying them. So that is all for this session. Thank you.